Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time of the day it is for you. Welcome to your video on apostrophes. I like to think of apostrophes as the comma's cousin who lives upstairs, because students forget what apostrophes are, they forget where they go. They kind of look like a comma, but they go up at the top, so I call them the comma's cousin, and they live upstairs. Maybe that'll help you. This video should take about 15 minutes to get through. At this time, you should have out your blank set of notes so that you can keep up. You should have earbuds in if you're at home so you don't disturb anyone, or if you're in the library here at Washington so you don't disturb anyone else using a computer. You need a pen or a pencil, and about 15 minutes of your time to get these completed. Don't forget, come back and do your own examples after the video. Okay, so let's get started learning about apostrophes. Apostrophes are used in possessive nouns, contractions, and some plural nouns. Apostrophes. And what did I tell you an apostrophe is? It's related to who and it lives where? Keep that in mind. I promise it will help you, especially when it comes time for the test. You might be asking yourself, what's a possessive anyway? Maybe you learned a lot about this in elementary school, maybe you learned very little. But we need to talk about possessive nouns before we can really start talking about apostrophes. And possessives are forms of a noun that show ownership or relationship. So something that belongs to someone is the best way I know of saying that. Possessives are forms of nouns that show ownership or relationship. And in the next video, well, not the next video, but in the next slide, I'm going to show you a couple of pictures. Hopefully that will help you, especially those of you who like to learn visually. So here's the first one. It's just a picture of a car. You know, just a plain, everyday, ordinary car that you see on the road every day. Or maybe not. I love this car, and I would love to drive this car every single day. But it's just a car. Car is the noun. It's a thing. Car. Other than being gorgeous, it's no big deal, right? Let's take a look at the next slide. So what I've done here is I've assigned possession or ownership of this car. This car now belongs to Mom. See, there's Mom walking the little baby. I don't know if she'll be able to get the car seat in the back of this awesome car. But it is now Mom's car. Mom, apostrophe S, car. It shows ownership of this car now. Like I just said, you use an apostrophe to show ownership. In the situation, the example that I was using, the car became Mom's car. There's a few different ways why we do this, but to be perfectly honest, it makes our lives a little bit easier. We tend to get a little lazy, and it's a lot less talking and writing by doing it this way. That wasn't intended to be a tongue twister, but I turned it into one. We basically use possessive nouns in place of longer phrases. So I'll ask you, which is better? Is it better to have to come out and say or write, and I know how some of you hate to write, the car that belongs to my mom? Or is it easier to simply state or write, my mom's car? Each of those statements is saying the same thing, but using a possessive makes it a lot easier for you. That's why we use possessive nouns. Here comes the rule. Be sure to use an apostrophe to form the possessive of any noun, regardless if it's singular or plural. You're always going to use an apostrophe to form the possessive of a noun. Where it gets a little confusing sometimes is whether or not we're talking about a singular noun, a plural noun. Does it end in an S? Where do I put that apostrophe? So with regards to singular nouns, your rule is to add an apostrophe S even if the word ends in an S. Here's a couple of examples. The baseball that belongs to Sam becomes Sam's baseball. Sam's, S-A-M, apostrophe S. And the baseball that belongs to Francis becomes Francis's baseball. You do it the same way, but Francis already ends in an S. Throw your apostrophe S onto the end. For plural nouns that end in an S already, add only an apostrophe. This is for plural nouns. If it ends in an S, add your apostrophe. The uniforms that belong to the players becomes the players' uniforms. Plural nouns. Players is your noun. Here are some more examples of plural nouns. Not all plural nouns end in an S. When a plural noun does not end in an S, add apostrophe S to the end. These are kind of irregular. So the example I have, the team of women becomes women's team. Women, the plural noun, does not end in an S, add an apostrophe S. We're going to talk a lot more about this when we get to our unit on nouns. Just trying to get the point across to you about using apostrophes right now. This will come up again. Okay, so here you go. For singular, add an apostrophe S. Dog becomes dog's bone. For plural ending in S, add an apostrophe to the end. Spiders becomes spiders' webs. And a plural not ending in an S, for example, women or children, go ahead and add your apostrophe S. Children's capes. Take a look at where the apostrophe and where the S goes on all of these. If you can remember all of this, you're in pretty good shape with apostrophes. There are additional rules and things to learn regarding possessive nouns. But like I said, when we get to our unit on nouns, we'll spend a lot more time on this. So for now, just take what I'm telling you and use it. It will get you through the test. And it'll get you through to the noun unit. We also use apostrophes in contractions. I'm certain that you all know what a contraction is. Next slide is going to be coming up in about 10 seconds. For right now, you just go back and check, make sure you're caught up on everything. In a contraction, words are joined together and letters are left out. Once again, because we, as speakers and writers of the English language, we tend to get a little lazy. So sometimes we like to save time and space, put a couple of words together, leave some letters out. If we do that, we have to use an apostrophe. That apostrophe replaces the letter or letters that are missing. You have to use the apostrophe. And you can't do it with any words. Sorry. For example, the words I am becomes am. There's that personal pronoun I, always capitalized, I apostrophe am. She is becomes she's. Cannot becomes can't. And make sure if you ever spell out cannot that you use that as one word. You are becomes your. That one gets tricky. It does not become your, Y-O-U-R. They have becomes they've. They are becomes their. It's a different one. You will becomes you'll. It is becomes its. It does not become its without an apostrophe. Totally different meaning. So you want to make sure that you keep those homophones straight. Do not confuse contractions with possessive pronouns. Possessive pronouns do not contain apostrophes. This is where some of that confusion comes in with the homophones. We're going to talk about it for a few minutes in the next couple of slides. Its, it apostrophe s, is the contraction for it is or it has. For example, it's been a long time since I've seen you. You could just as easily write or say, it has been a long time since I have seen you. There's two contractions in that one. Its, its, no apostrophe, is the possessive pronoun, and that means belonging to it. For example, its wing was broken. Well, some sort of a bird or something was broken. It's a possessive pronoun, and it means the wing that belonged to the bird or the chicken, whatever it was broken. Keep those two separate. Whose, who apostrophe s, is the contraction for who is. Example, who's taking notes right now? Hopefully several of you just said I am. Who is. And there's no rule that says you have to use contractions. If you prefer to spell out both words, it's fine. Just make sure when it comes time for the test, you know them because you will be tested on these. Whose, whose, is the possessive pronoun for belonging to whom. Possessive pronoun for belonging to whom. For example, whose glove is this? Whose is the possessive pronoun, and it's dealing with belonging to whom. Your, you apostrophe re, is the contraction for you are. This is another one of those pet peeves of mine. You want to make sure that when you use this form of the word your, what you are trying to say is that you are trying to say you are. For example, you're a great person. You apostrophe re. You are a great person. Your, your, is the possessive pronoun for belonging to you. Did you break your leg? All you have to ask yourself to keep these two separate is, what is it that I'm trying to say? Are you trying to say, did you break your leg? No? Well, then don't use the contraction. Use the your possessive pronoun for belonging to you. Their, they apostrophe re, is the contraction for they are. In my example, they're headed to lunch. It's just like saying they are headed to lunch, and either one of these is fine. But if you're going to use the contraction and the apostrophe, use it correctly. They re stands for they are. Their, their, is the possessive pronoun for belonging to them. Their yard is enormous. I'm not trying to say their yard is enormous. I'm using the possessive pronoun. This one even has a third alternative. Their, there, meaning like over there. We're talking about a location there. So we have to keep these straight. Apostrophes in plurals. let's learn a little bit about plurals and how to use apostrophes appropriately here. Make sure that you're all caught up. You're not doing your own examples. But I think we're moving slow enough today with this video that everyone should be caught up. And in just a few seconds, your next slide will be up. Use an apostrophe and S, okay, you see it right down there, the apostrophe and the S, to form the plural of a letter, a numeral, or a word referred to as a word. Now this gets a little goofy, but I think once that next slide comes up, it should become more clear to you. So we're talking about a different type of plural here. Not so much words as letters and numerals and kind of odd things that we have to refer to as a word because we don't know what else to call them. Okay, so here's some examples. Your eyes look like E's. I apostrophe S, E apostrophe S. It's plural on the I, plural on the E. How many sixes, so here we're talking about numerals, are in 66,745,669? Good thing I remembered my place values. And here's the other one when we're talking about words. And this is the one that I think is the most tricky for me. The news was filled with too bads and how horribles. We're talking about plurals there. And if you've ever watched the news, you know it can get kind of depressing. But here's Mr. Helderly's goofy joke of the day. So if that news got you all sad, maybe this silly little joke will cheer you up. And the joke is, why did Cinderella get kicked off of the softball team? Have any guesses? Why would they kick Cinderella off of a softball team? Doesn't sound very nice. Well, if you know the story, you know that she kept running away from the ball. Ha ha ha!